In this video we'll work on Discourse 111. Let's go to single sentence mode. Here we have two issues, run. Okay, the Philistines ran from Israel's army. So the source noun phrase takes the preposition from. And by the way, in these videos, I don't spend much time on these comments. When you're working on an actual language project, I would highly recommend that you enter good comments. For this particular comment, we have this preposed adverbial clause, which is completely irrelevant. So to make the comment more clear, it'd be nice to delete that. They ran from Israel's soldiers. When you're working on an actual language project, I would highly recommend putting in good comments. In these videos, just to save time, I sort of glance over them. But the comments are very valuable. So let's keep going. The theta grid adjustment rule for the adjective dead. I don't think we'll need that. Okay, that sentence is fine. Okay, the verb chase. Okay. Abram chased these kings to a region named Dan. So the destination noun phrase takes the preposition to. The people chased the Israelites from the city to a certain place. Okay. So the source will take from, the destination will take to. Okay, this example doesn't have either a source or destination. It's still okay. It's okay. Okay, that sentence is fine. Okay, no known issues. By the way, when I say no known issues, what I'm saying, I'm looking here and there's no number. And nothing is highlighted in purple. No constituents are highlighted in purple. So that's what I mean when I say no known constituents. Okay, that sentence is fine. Okay, the adjective could. I don't think we'll need this. Tag it as unnecessary. Later Saul gave many good things to David. Later Saul rewarded David. Okay, reward. Reward is semantically complex. Many languages won't have a good lexical equivalent for the word reward. So we don't use this word in our source text, our semantic representations. Instead, we break it down and we say someone gave many good things to David. But if your language has a good lexical equivalent for reward, then you want to use that. So what we do there, we have these complex concepts, and what we actually recommend is at the beginning of your language project, activate all of these complex concepts. And you can activate all of them by clicking at the top. Reward is down here. These are in alphabetical order. So there's reward. So now this complex concept is activated. Let's activate the adjectives and the adverbs. We recommend activating all of them if you know immediately that your language doesn't have a good lexical equivalent for something like earnestly or graciously or abundantly, then you can deactivate it. And we always provide an alternative source sentence for the concepts, these complex concepts, if your language doesn't have a lexical equivalent. Okay? So now we see reward here. And this was inserted by complex event insertion rules. Right here, here's the rule. Someone gives many good things to someone else. If this rule is turned on, as it is now, because we activated reward down here, along with all the other verbs. When this rule is turned on, it will delete all of these and insert the word reward. So now we can link reward to a target word. Okay, rewarded, has rewarded, rewarding, rewards. Okay. And now the theta grid adjustment rule for reward. Okay, there's only an agent and patient, so we don't need it for English. Okay, generated text is identical. Okay, that's the last sentence in this verse. Let's go to the full verse. Okay, something's missing. Many of. So Israel's soldiers chased the Philistines and killed them. So Israel's soldiers chased the Philistines and killed many of them. Okay, so our pronoun, one of our pronoun rules deleted many and of. If we go here and double click, this will be highlighted. And by the way, when a constituent is deleted, its history is transferred to the preceding opening clause boundary. So here we see many deleted by pronouns which reference identification rule, rule number 5, etc. And of was deleted by the same rule, and the was again deleted by that same rule. So let's go to our rule that deletes constituents that modify pronouns. This one here, delete constituents that modify pronouns. So if we have a quantity adjective like many, or few, or several, or if we have a cardinal number like 7 or 3, 7 of them, 3 of you, many of them, many of us. When we have a cardinal number or a quantity adjective modifying a personal pronoun, we want to keep that adjective. So let's copy the structure, and we'll say that the structure applies specifically to cardinal numbers and quantity adjectives. So let's make this adjective phrase not optional, and we'll insert, so now this is obligatory, this has to be here in order for this structure to apply. We'll insert an adjective, and we'll say that this has to be either a cardinal number or a quantity. Identity, each of you. Let's not check this for now. We may find later that we'll want to come and also include identity, but I'm not sure right now. Okay, so if a structure has a cardinal number or a quantity adjective modifying a pronoun, okay, we don't want to include all those types of pronouns. Personal pronouns, yes. I don't think we want these included right now. Right now we're dealing with a personal pronoun, them. That's a personal pronoun, so we definitely want to keep this option. Later we may come back and check more of these types of pronouns, but for now this is sufficient. Okay, so when we have this situation, we don't want to delete the adjective clause. Okay. Insert a comment from your selected document. We're in full verse mode, so we're going to get the full verse. And here we definitely want to remove the part that's not relevant. We want to delete that. And killed many of them. And let's many of them. Now let's put a note up front. Okay, when a cardinal number or a quantity adjective modifies a personal pronoun, don't delete the adjective. Okay, generated text is identical. Let's save it, and that's the last verse in the story. So we've now finished the story of David and Goliath, and I would highly recommend that you go back now and regenerate all of your text down through Discourse 111 and see if anything changed. And I actually already did that, and there's one sentence that changed. So let's go back and look at that. It's clauses 105. Okay, well, we never handled the theta grid adjustment rule for read. Okay, Jesus read the scriptures to the people. Daniel read the message for the king. Okay. Okay. If we generate this now, it was the John who read that book. Okay, it's supposed to say it was John who read that book, and we're emphasizing John. If we rest our cursor here, participant status is emphasized. So we're emphasizing John. The underlying sentence is, John read that book. In order to emphasize John, in English we create this cleft construction and say, it was John who read that book. But now we get, it was the John who read that book. And if we rest our cursor here, inserted by spell out rule nouns, layer 1, row 9. And if we go there, layer 1, row 9. And you may remember back when we worked on Discourse 1.9, David said, today the God of Israel, the God of Israel. So it is proper to put an article before a proper name when it's modified by a Norman genitive, like it is here, and also when it's modified by a relative clause. Okay, we don't have an example here. Let's say the Mary that I met is John's friend. So there are several Marys on the discourse stage, and we're specifying which one. The Mary that I met is John's friend. That's a perfectly valid sentence. But we don't want this the when we created this relative clause because the noun is being emphasized. So we can block that. Actually, I looked at several examples. Okay, we can say Mary read that book. And if we emphasize Mary, it was Mary who read that book. That's a perfect sentence. But it was the Mary who read that book. That's not a valid sentence. But we can say it was the Mary who read that book if there's more to the sentence. For example, it was the Mary who read that book that I met yesterday. Okay, that's a perfect sentence. The underlying sentence here is, yesterday I met the Mary who read that book. So when a proper noun is modified by a relative clause, it is okay to put the definite article there, but not if the relative clause is there, because we're emphasizing that proper name. So let's go back and let's prevent this structure from applying, this rule from applying, if that noun is being emphasized. So we'll put in our relative clause, and we'll say the features, okay, singular and proper, and we're also going to say emphasized. So if a noun is singular and proper and emphasized and it's being modified by a relative clause, then we'll say this structure should not be applied. If the structure is found, the spell out rule should not be applied. And we'll put in our sentence here, and we'll put in this. It was the John who read that book. Okay. Don't insert a definite article if the proper noun is modified by a relative clause because it's being emphasized. So now when we have this construction, we can go ahead and tag this. It doesn't matter. We'll tag it. Okay. So if we have a singular proper noun that's being emphasized and there's a relative clause there, this spell out rule should not be applied. By this spell out rule, it means this particular row. Okay, it should not be applied. So now we'll save that. and now we're back. It was John who read that book. So now I would highly recommend that you go back, regenerate all of our sentences, make sure there are no issues, and that will conclude our grammar introduction. I'll make a comment here. We actually have several hundred more sentences if you want, because we have a section called data grids, and there are actually several hundred sentences in here. Okay, 300. They're not all used, but all of these illustrate. Let's just choose one at random. Okay, John led people to the house. John led the people to his house. Okay, these are here so that you can work on the theta grid adjustment rules. Apparently, we've already worked on the theta grid adjustment rule for lead. Yeah, let's look at another one. Okay, leave. We haven't worked on this one. But these are here if you want to work on the theta grid adjustment rules. These include many of the commonly used verbs in our source text, and they have all of the arguments that are possible for each verb that's here. So you can work on these if you want. Generally, people are anxious to start translating from the Bible. And so generally we skip these sentences and we go to a book in the Bible like Ruth. So what we do is we discover these as we're working through books of the Bible. But if you want to find them out now, you can work on them. But that will conclude this video. In our next video, we're going to start working in the book of Ruth.